Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, the Queenie for President YouTube channel with me, Asmara Mitchell, and I am giving you a little taster and insight into my life story. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've had some controversy over the years. A few people haven't really understood what's gone on with me. A few people have told some lies and made stories up, which has genuinely confused anyone who's been introduced to me or knows of me. So I think it's important for me to clear things up, for me to get my story out there according to my words, and to put the truth out there so that no more people are affected by what's gone on here. The main issues we're facing here is child abuse, harassment, and violence in general. It kind of concerns mainly like a group of London kids who, I think anyone who's from London and people who grew up, especially in South London, there's a lot of drama and a lot of people, there's like a revolving door of people coming all from across the world. And sometimes it can be a dumping ground. Sometimes it can be a place where people get away with things. It is hard for the authorities to keep up with some of the things that happen here. There's a lot of closed mouths. There's a lot of refusal to work with people like the police, people like the government. And a lot of people have been let down due to this. For me, I started advocating for people living in poverty and underprivileged people, particularly kids, in my community in around 2012. I did start my organisation whilst at university. It is one of the best universities in the world with one of the best business departments. And they supported me in getting things going and learning how to gather statistics and gather evidence to prove to your local governments, prove to your local funding machines what your local neighbourhood and people around you need in order to, elevate themselves and get themselves out of poverty. So in part, my videos are that it's for me to introduce myself to the general population and anyone who sees this, and for people to see that, if I say I'm doing charity work, I'm a genuine person. It comes from a genuine place, and I genuinely know what I'm talking about. And I have done the groundwork and my due diligence in order to really offer our local communities what they need. Something I'm really passionate about right now are children in care homes, foster children. I'm not exactly hands-on because I'm not a professional, I'm not a qualified. I do have a level 2 teaching assistant qualification. It does qualify me to work in schools, but again, I'm not hands-on. I'm more interested in supporting people, mothers and fathers with addictions, into becoming better parents and preventing children therefore from ending up in care. With all that being said, let's get into the video. My charity, as I said, is called, no, I didn't say, it's called World Support. It's not fully registered or anything yet. We're just introducing ourselves, just trying to gather support and get people on board. What else would I add that's important for this video and for anyone who's been in these situations where they've experienced domestic violence, they've nowhere to turn, their families have to keep hush mouths because they're scared. Yeah, it's just something I want to grow and something that can support people just like you watching this, and something that you can include yourself in to help people in these situations. In the past, we've handed out groceries, fundraised and given back straight into the community, given jobs to people, provided safe spaces for people and services to other local charities. So it's not a full-time gig for me at the moment because I am a lawyer in training and I also am a full-time mother. So everything is in the making, and I want everybody watching to become involved in this. It's not a selfish act. It's not a selfish thing. It's something I want to see grow. So yeah, let's get into the video. I want to talk a little bit about harassment today, and I want to use some examples of what I've been through for you to see how harassment can unfold in your life and those around you, and how groups and individuals can target somebody without it becoming very highlighted, or without the community being aware of why, how, and how to help this individual. So As you know, I have very little family, but I do have a big support network. Uh, it took me a while to build this support network, and it took for me to have empathy for others and to understand, actually, in order for people to help you, you need to understand there isn't probably one person in this world who hasn't had drama, who hasn't been through the ringer, who hasn't, needed help and support themselves. So I did a lot of that before realizing, yeah, I do have a family around me, and it's one that I can serve and support as well. And it does exist within my community. But there are individuals who get into the community and either their upbringing wasn't so good, they're in need of support systems and support networks and cannot speak for themselves, cannot reach out, or they're genuinely just not very nice people, not very good people, or some are forced into doing tasks and jobs for bad people and the bad guys in order to fuel their survival. And I've seen a lot of that, and I've seen a vast majority of it. I talked about in my last video that a stranger literally drove into me with my daughter in the car, smashed the window and drove off. And he drove off so quickly, I didn't even get his license plate. And that was a direct act of violence and harassment that I've experienced. Other things have been, and I'm gonna say this, it is both men and women. But my experience, men have a tendency to actually put your life in danger to a point where you can end up in hospital, you can end up needing therapy, or you can end up feeling really, really scared. So I've had those occasions where I've had to look through my window. I'm waking up in the middle of the night wondering, are there people outside? I've had people outside screaming my name in the middle of the night. You can clearly hear that they are intoxicated. And if it wasn't for people around me who hear these things and for help me to stay calm, by around me I mean living in my neighborhood, if it wasn't for that, I'd be so scared, I'd be so isolated. So what I have found over the years, strangely, and I have spoken about my connection to the music industry briefly, I found that a lot of up and coming artists, both male and female, have a tendency to obsess over individuals that they think are influential or are some form of influencer in the music industry. I am not by any stretch of the imagination an influencer. I don't have funding to get somebody's career off the ground. I don't have an organization which is fully established that can promote or put artists out there. But what I find is that somebody will say, oh, her, especially mostly in my area, her dad was once upon a time this person, and her family member is this person who's in the music industry, and they are connected to such a person who's really high up in the music industry. And they just assume that by being around you or pressuring you or forcing themselves on you, that somehow you're going to either have to fold and offer them something that you don't have to give them, or they're going to find a safe space around you. And sometimes it's hard to distinguish between those people. The music industry is a really tough industry to break into. Everybody knows that. And yeah, I have had a lot of rappers and things come around me. The worst of it are people who they try to get you into drugs and alcohol. Fortunately for me, I have never fallen into those traps. They do come around you and they allude to the drugs and alcohol they do, the drugs and alcohol they take, and they think that somehow they're going to influence you so that they can probably subdue you, probably get into your head, probably control you, and sometimes even put you in hostage-like situations. Like, they know, they're calling out certain people in the industry to say, are you going to come and help this person? This might all sound completely bonkers. It might be something you've never heard of, but stay with me. Be open-minded. It's not very easy to explain because everything is very intertwined, and it's something that's developed over a number of years. But I will leave that bit there. I have had men, other than being thrown down the stairs, I've had men that I've known play like they want to come and hang out with me and catch up with me. No actual behavior towards me, but they've literally just wanted to get close enough to me to literally attack me, strangle me. I had some group of guys that it wasn't the group of guys that I knew, but they were from my local area, And they, I think, were kind of targeted by another group of up and coming artists who found their way around me by asking me to start braiding their hair for their music videos. And then it did turn a bit ugly, it turned a bit violent. I'm not necessarily going to call out names at this point unless it becomes relevant. I really do want to. But again, as I said, these people have like really dangerous tendencies and I don't want the drama. Yeah, and I was literally attacked in front of a group of people and punched in my face out of the blue, just standing outside my house, watching people have a water fight. My daughter was off at the park with her friend, with another adult, and these kids literally stood around while this guy just literally started punching me and attacking me. And then 10 minutes later, he was calling my phone saying, "I'm so sorry that I did that. I'm so," like, real psycho behavior that you cannot explain. And it really, I think it's all about like trying to make you feel scared and trying to make you feel uncomfortable in your surroundings. Like I said, I have moved away from that place. I'm fortunate. I'm one of the lucky people. But to take it away from me, I do want to speak a little bit to the fact that there are so many kids in these situations. It's unbelievable how the children you think on these streets are the bad kids. Oh, look at them walking up and down, making noise. They're outside at nighttime. They're just bad. Well, some of them are forced to do it. Some of them are paid to harass their local town centres. Some of them are on drugs, as I said, very early, 11, 12, 10, 9. Their parents are unaware and their behaviour is that way because they have no self-control, especially at that young age. So, you know, our role as parents and community leaders is not necessarily to get involved in people's lives, but it's to be aware of who these children are and who are the potentially vulnerable households in our neighborhoods and support them. When you see strangers entering people's property, when you see things happening that don't look right, you need to have a team in your community that's already set to go over there and help those people. They cannot help themselves. In those situations when people are creeping their way into your life, they have their sights set on you, they have their claws into you, they are trying to get you in vulnerable positions. You in that position, if you're a single mum with 4 kids, or your partner is from the streets and you've got people coming to your home, knowing where you live, following your kids around, talking to your kids on the street, you need help from your community. It is scary. It isn't something that the average person thinks, you know what, I'm gonna actually stand up to people. But if you nip it in the bud from early days, from when you see it visually with your eyes, you will be able to get on top of these situations and those predators will not enter your communities. And this is something that needs to be, you know, discussed at parliament level. It needs to be discussed outside of the Metropolitan Police, who they are so visible to us but do not have the powers we think they do. It is up to us, you know. So that's that. Just a short message on behalf of those people that I know have gotten into situations that they did not intentionally get themselves into. They were put in. They're literally victims who are given no support. So yeah, then one of the more scarier things that happened to me, which you would think that was scary enough, is one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I literally heard one of your most popular artists. Now, don't get me wrong, I have had artists, big artists, millions of views on YouTube, millions of followers on Instagram and TikTok, have pulled up outside my house. I have literally walked outside my house and either seen them standing there, walked down my local area and seen them in their cars, pulling by, waving at me, saying hello to me, introducing themselves to me. It happens to me so often that it's not scary. It's not scary to me. It's just what I feel happens sometimes in some places. So with that being said, there was a one time that one of your most popular female artists, UK artist, came outside my house screaming her own name, calling my name and telling me to come outside, and screaming that she had a gun. She had a gun, and this girl, it is widely known that she has it completely in for me. I don't want to say she's obsessed with me. I don't know her. I've never met her. Okay. I have tried to communicate with this girl online, and I don't know what to think. I don't know what has happened to her. I don't know what she's been through, and I don't know why she would have done this. Okay. I do have witnesses for these situations that happen to me. Whether they will come forward is up to them. Okay. I'm telling my truth. This popular artist was due to go on a tour the following day, and she was calling me out side of my house and screaming that she had a gun and she had people with her. I think it was like, I think she was intoxicated, and I don't think she actually thought I was going to come outside. I just think it was either threatening behavior or she literally was, I don't know. I cannot imagine what was going through her head. And this person, I don't even want to say this, but they are due to be performing at Wireless, and they shouldn't be. They should not be performing and being played anywhere. Okay, this person is a complete psychopath, and that's where I'm going to leave that. Okay. I've had some of the worst experiences with up and coming artists, and this was happening before this person was popularized. And I was getting a lot of threats from this person. Okay. And I've not come out and said it before because you would assume that where people don't know you, you've never introduced yourself to the public, you might come across as somebody who's not making sense, just to put it plainly. I'm going to leave that there because I have taken it to the court. And since I took it to the court, most of that behavior has completely stopped. I will leave it there. And it was also true, actually, at that time that I had heard through friends that the person had filmed a music video on my road that I lived on, and had moved into not my local area, but moved about half an hour away from me. So anyway, I will leave that there. Yeah, so harassment can take many forms. It has taken many forms in my life. And I also want to talk about a different story. I want to take the music industry stuff out of my life, and my life story at this point, because it turns into something completely different. Then it's all about drama, it's all about gossip. Then I just want to talk about how E used to follow me around on the streets when I was pregnant, and to talk more about some of the other occurrences. So there was one time that I was driving my car down the road, and I was in Catford, which is southeast London. And this guy stepped out into the front of my car. I had someone with me, and I was like, what is going on right now? This man is in front of my car. I broke the vehicle and I looked up because I just saw a person. When I saw his face and he looked back at me, the person with me immediately knew who it was. And this was the same day that I said I saw him exiting my daughter's dad's workplace. It was literally a few meters away. And the person I was with in my vehicle was my daughter's dad's best friend. And I was taking him to meet his friend, like as in I'd picked him up and was going to go and pick up my daughter's dad. And he said immediately, he was like, is that the guy who abused you? It's him, right? Because of the way I reacted. And I was just like, I started to feel so weird and so upset. And yeah, this used to happen a lot in that area. He used to pop up in places where I would be, and I don't even want to talk about him. I just want to highlight the fact that I have suffered through a lot of stalking and harassment in my life. And I also want to tell one more important story with in terms of harassment and people that have done some really strange things. And it started in secondary school. No, let me take it back. I used to have like journalists and people approaching me, like when I used to be on the streets at like 10 and 11, I used to have a lot of people saying they were journalists trying to talk to me, that I used to just start running, or I wouldn't speak to, or I would accidentally start talking to and realize what they were trying to do. So that's a lot of like how I wouldn't classify it as stalking, but I know I had a really, really serious thing happen to me at 9 years old, and I do think it got out into the public. But yeah, I got very used to people approaching me on the street and talking to me. But this other incident in secondary school happened when I stopped talking to Elle. I stopped communicating with her altogether, in school, outside of school. We used to hang out every single day. And I was hanging out with another girl, Kay, which I'm going to talk about this friendship group a bit further because they were the ones giving evidence in court. We were in my house at the time, and I just so happened to look through the window, and this was around 4 or 5 p.m. after school. We'd gone back to my house to change clothes to go back outside, and I said, "Oh my God, look, it's Elle and another girl, Z, who we'll talk about another time as well, taking pictures outside the house." That would be fine, except for me and my family were homeless at the time. So we were living in a hostel accommodation, and I was like, what the hell was going on? We went outside, and we already had agreed, let's not start an argument, let's not start a fight, let's just try and get them away from the door, because obviously the girl I was with, Kay, she was saying like, obviously you'd be so embarrassed right now, why are they doing this? This is like humiliation, because I'd already been through a lot at school at that time as well. Went and approached them and said, look, what are you doing taking pictures? Like, why are you out here? And I think it was L or Z. I think it was Z who said, oh, we're taking pictures for our geography project. And yeah, what do you mean harm? No. And I'm like, look how many houses there are on the street. They said, oh, we're supposed to take pictures of old Victorian houses, and this is one. I said, well, this isn't really one. It's like broken into like 8 different homes, like small homes. And you're literally here doing this for what? Like, nobody at my school knows that my family live in this kind of situation. Why would you do this? And I think they felt pretty bad. I think they were expecting me to probably be angry, and I just spoke calmly to them, and they started walking off. And I don't even think they walked off. I think we walked off and then they walked off. But that was just an example of the types of harassing things that people would do to me, from about the age of 9, 10 to onwards. And obviously it got increasingly more violent. And it hasn't exactly stopped now. It's just, I've obviously learned how to deal with it more. I've learned how to ignore it. But I want to talk to the public about it, which is what I'm doing now. And hopefully you guys have some advice for me, or maybe you'll support me in calling out some of these people and encouraging them to stop and to leave me alone. I do think it stems from the pregnancy issue, and I do think it's because a really, really horrible story was made up at that time, and it was really controversial, and I think I suffered a lot of bullying as a result of it, because a lot of people had known and probably didn't ever want to discuss it with me, which at the time they should have been able to, because I needed the support. Elle being one of them, who I don't know what she was told growing up, because as I said, we didn't have a very good relationship. She just was, we'll talk about it in another video. And yeah, I've been through it. So this video was just part 1 about bullying, harassing, and some of the different types of things that's happened, where it stems from. Some of it is community based, some of it is music industry, some of it is due to the abuse I went through, and some of it were some of the harassment was from people that I was friends with, who I think, because of them knowing the victimization and the things I'd been through, I think they felt comfortable to try to victimize me. And again, it's a message to them that the things you did were wrong. The things that if you are doing something now to try to harass and bully me or troll me or anything like that, it's wrong. And I will always stand up for myself. And it's just encouragement to you to stop, because maybe you have been misinformed about me. Maybe you don't know me for real, because that's usually what happens. It's usually a very parasocial relationship, and somebody who's been told a lot of lies or has made up a few things in their head about you that they run with. And you do need to get to know the real me. And though to those people that are part of that, follow me, subscribe to the channel, share my videos, put on notifications, and sit here and learn who it is that you're dealing with and what you have done to a person that didn't deserve some of those things you did. In fact, any of those things. Yeah, I'm a really decent person who's always trying their best to support others and to support myself. I have been by myself my whole life, and I don't think you've had the right impression all along. And hopefully with age, one second, with maturity, age, wisdom, hopefully you've learnt a few lessons yourself over time, and you've met a few more people who do not have the perfect life and who deserve support. And maybe you've been in situations where you haven't had your family around you and you've needed desperate support. And I hope you see that life is not as easy as you think it is, and life is complex, and characters are around people who are deceiving. And especially when you think somebody's in the music industry, or you think their family's in the music industry, and you think it's all glamorous and you think there's all rah 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 to it, well, you should probably look into it and think there's probably more to it, and those people are in that position for a reason. So they need support from their communities as well. They don't need people judging them and assuming things about them. So I'm not angry with people who have played a role in this thing. I'm just anxious and desperate to get the situation resolved, because I supported a lot of those people. I did a lot for some of those people, and the way I was treated in return was like as if they felt I owed them and they didn't have to do anything back. They felt it was their right to come into my life, use me or abuse me, and keep it stepping, or give some half-hearted apology and not really make up for their behavior. People need to understand the impact of what they are doing. When you are children, you can be forgiven for some of your misgivings. However, as adults, if you are not understanding what you're doing and you're harassing people and you are on the internet, on people's accounts, trolling them, writing nasty comments, going around their local area, spreading lies about them, seeing them in the streets and talking about them and wanting to fight them and attacking them, this is not the right way to behave. You need to understand that each and every person deserves love and support. If you think that you deserve to be dealt with properly and fairly, why should another person not be dealt with properly and fairly? It's not for me to sit and accept, oh, they're just some really horrible people in the world. I don't have to accept that. I don't have to accept your behavior. I don't have to forgive your behavior. You know, you need to come forward and, or in fact, it doesn't surprise me if a lot of people from my past have not come up to these videos, reposted them, spoke on them, made a video in response to the videos. No, I haven't mentioned names, but everybody I'm talking about will know who they are. Yeah, and it's not surprising that they're not saying anything back. I'm not saying my videos are far-reaching and it's definite that they've seen them, but at the end of the day, if you know you've been involved in something with somebody, you need to make right. You need to go back in your past and really have a look and think, you know, when I did certain things to people, it wasn't right. Like, grow up, seriously. And you know, there is more to the issues here. I'm not a person who can sit here and make like 1.5 hour long videos or 2 hour videos. My daughter called me because I was cooking chicken and I literally forgot. Broke my dish in half, the glass dish, because the dish overheated. An actual Pyrex, like good quality. So I need to go and sort that out. I've taken the stuff out of the oven, etc. But I can't sit here and talk on the internet all day and be there for people the way I used to. They can't have a piece of me anytime they want, or call my phone and just turn up at my house when they want. You need to be accountable for what you have done. And let's not forget, people like P, people like M, people like E, and some of the other people mentioned do not have a social media presence. Okay, they will never be accountable for what they have done. And some of you still have a chance to speak out on issues. You don't have to talk about me. In fact, it would be great if you didn't, you know, but you can come on here with a sincere heart, be apologetic and try to support people in your community. Yeah, because it's quite disgusting, some of the things I've been through. Lucky I am a strong person with a strong faith and a strong support network. Lucky that abuse did not make me, because I feel so sorry for people who have lost their lives to abuse. Those are the people my heart bleeds for. I don't sit here sympathizing for myself. I feel sorry for all the people currently going through things that they can't get out of, and other people being victimized by absolute monsters. Okay, I'm talking on behalf of them as well. I'm not here to look for sympathy. I'm here to clear up my story, you know? I think that's it for today. I am getting heated, as you can tell, because it angers me, because none of these people can come forward and say, you know what, well, she did do this, she did do that, that's why I did the things I did. No, because they did it, because they were part of a network of people who bully individuals. Let's put it plainly, let's call a spade a spade. They are disgusting, vicious bullies, and they cannot and should not and will not get away with it. Okay, I'm here to support anyone going through things who need somebody to reach out to. Okay, but there are also hotlines, places on Google search, actual places you can go to, call citizens advice, find a lawyer, go to the high court, do whatever you can to help yourself. Do not wait for other people to get you out of situations. Okay, always put yourself first in that regard. Put your safety first. Put yourself and your mental health first, because people, I'm telling you, they do not stop. Given the chance, they keep going. All right, you have to put a stop to it. And another thing, for those of you who are sitting pretty, judging people online, why don't you get outside and help somebody that you think, you know what, look at you, boy, you got a man doing this and you got your kids looking like that, and why don't you offer them a bit of help instead of judging? And that's the end from me today. That's it, because I need to go off and reflect on how I'm feeling right now. Literally, I'm so infuriated, you know, and there will be a part 2 to this. And please do leave a comment. Please share this video. You know, take a clip if you need to of your most favorite part and send it to somebody who needs to see this. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and have a blessed day. Goodbye.